Hey guys, this is Courtney Mason, and this is the Millennial Dreamers podcast. All right, Millennial Dreamers, I have told you time and time again that I'm starting an interview series. I want to profile successful millennial entrepreneurs, creatives, thought leaders, artists, anyone who is out doing what they're passionate about and turning their passion into profit. And I'm so excited that the very first guest on the Millennial Dreamers podcast is none other than Kiira Harper. Kiira is a professional dancer and choreographer who has shared the stage with some of our favorite artists from Beyonce, Janelle Monae, Trey Songz, and Tank, just to name a few. Those are just a few of the artists. She's become an influencer as her social following has continued to grow, and supporters are flocking to her page to watch her choreography and learn from her. And she's the creator of Simply Stilletto by Kiira Harper, which is currently on tour right now. Kiira, how are you?
Hey, Courtney, how are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing well. Thank you for being on here. And first and foremost, I want to let the listeners know that I am somewhat of an Uber fan. I came across your Instagram probably a year ago, I think. And the video that I saw, I think it was choreography to a song by Tank. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. And I think to me, how I can describe you is that you're a dancer's dancer. From your musicality, from your controlling your movement, your fluidity, just everything. It's captivating to watch. And so I'm pretty sure that all of my friends are like, we know who Kiira is, Courtney. You've shown us all of her videos. We know that you are a super fan. So I just want all the listeners to know that, full disclosure, I am a super fan of Kiira. So with that out of the way, I wanted to just take a step back and give the listeners a glimpse into your background and how you got started in dance.
Well, I actually started back when I was 7 years old. I was born in California, and my family and I moved to New York, where both my parents are from. And when we got there, I was a soccer player, an avid little athlete. And when I got to New York, I realized it got cold outside. My parents were like, well, girl, you got to do something here. They were big believers in a child having extracurricular activities and no idle time. So my dad talked to one of my neighbors, and my neighbor had another daughter who was also my best friend at the time when I was living in New York. And he had told us about her being in a dance school. And they let me into the school, halfway through the semester as it had already started. Just like not an actual academic school with dance, but just a dance studio. And I've been dancing literally every day since. So, yeah, I went to college. I didn't go to college for dance either. I went to Hampton University, and I got my bachelor's in public relations and communications with a minor in leadership studies. And after that, after I got my higher education, my parents said, once you do that, you can do whatever. And when I was in college, I realized how bad I really actually wanted to dance. So I got my good grades. I got out of college, and that's when I went after my professional career. So that was in 2011. I've been working professionally since 2012, and now we're here.
So that actually answers a question that I had that I'll get into, but I want to shout out HBCU, Hampton University. I am a graduate of an HBCU as well, so I always love. But so one of my questions was, what was your major in college? Because I always wonder if you knew from the beginning that this would be your path, or if you started and said, I'm going to go a traditional route and maybe get like a corporate job instead. But it seems like that wasn't the case.
No, it wasn't the case. I grew up knowing that it was instilled in me through my education, everything, that you go to school, you get your grades, you come out of school, you get a good job. So for me, it was just always a learned idea that you're going to do something. The idea of dance never really crossed my mind until I got to college as a professional career. I always loved being on stage and all that. But when I got to college, I realized how unhappy I was. I loved being on stage every chance that I could get, because Hampton didn't have a dance major. I was trying to be on stage. So I was joining all the extracurriculars. I was doing all the talent shows. And that was kind of fulfilling the void that I was feeling. And I didn't know what it was. I wanted to be a forensic scientist at one point, you know? So like, and work in the police force. And like, I was very into stuff like that. And then my junior year, end of sophomore year, early junior year, I was just kind of like, man, I'm just not happy. And I was like, man, I wish I could just dance, you know? And I had realized like my entire life I was going through the motions and doing everything because my family or mentors told me that I had to do things. Like I went to Catholic high school and I had two choices. I had the school that was good, that had the dance program that I could also train in. And then I had the academically acclaimed school that where 99.9% of the students graduated and went to college and the other 1% went to military. So I had a choice. I got accepted into both schools and I knew my parents wanted me to be amazing. So I went to the academically acclaimed school, knowing I really wanted to be in the dance school. Even though I had the choice, I just always made the choice to fulfill, you know, the dream that I know my parents had or that was instilled in me from my mentors and whatnot. And after high school, it was like, all right, well, you go to college now and you figure out your life and then you graduate from college and you make money. It was always in me. I never really paid attention to the fact that I wanted to be professional with this thing. I knew it was a job. I knew it was an option, but I never thought it was an option for me. And then I felt unhappiness, and I was like, you know what? Junior year, I tried to transfer out of Hampton to VCU without my parents knowing so that I could join the dance school and get a dance major and just be happy. And, you know, I got caught, but it didn't happen. But still, like, I think that's when they knew, and that's when the bug kind of got lit in me. And I was auditioning for So You Think You Can Dance, and I was doing so many different things. And I auditioned for So You Think You Can Dance like 4 times and made it to top 50s and top 40s and top 30 dancers. And then but I never actually made it to top 20 on the show. You know, I think that's when my parents knew, like, oh, she's really got this. She really wants to do this.
And that's so interesting because that was a question I also had. So we're just kind of rolling into all the questions because one thing that a lot of millennials say is that either parents or older family members will try to dissuade you from an unconventional career path. And it's not really that it's because they don't believe in you. A lot of times it's because that's what they've known. That you go, like you say, you go and you make sure that you're able to take care of yourself. You go to college, you get a good job, and you work. But now a lot of us are saying, I want to be happy in my career. I want to do what lights me up and makes me excited to go to work every day and that I know that I'm good at. So to know that you actually auditioned so many times for So You Think You Can Dance is like, that's amazing. Because I remember So You Think You Can Dance and still watch it to this day and regret that I didn't like at least try. So the fact that you tried and, you know, continued, that speaks to perseverance to go 4 times. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. That's one thing about me, girl. I hate the idea of no. Like, well, why not? Let me find out why. You know, that's always me. It's a gift and a curse.
And that's why you are excelling because it's like you don't take no for an answer. It's like you go for it and keep pushing until you get where you want to be, regardless of any other, you know, factors. So that answer is kind of like the moment that you knew it was in college that you wanted this to be your career path. So when did you make the leap from moving from New York to California? What was that transition like?
Well, my life is so unorthodox. Like, I wouldn't encourage anyone to do what I did. I never really made the choice to move to LA. It was never even a thought in my head. I always knew LA existed and the industry in LA, but I always thought it was so far away. And back in 2015, I was assisting a choreographer on a job. So she had gotten us tickets to Los Angeles. And when we got to LA, the job ended up not happening. So me and her other assistant, Giovanni Soto, who's actually on tour with Paula Abdul right now. It was both our first times in LA. And we were like, let's try to see if we can, you know, book something since we got nothing to do. And there's a rumor, or not really a rumor, but the rule is if you are assigned to an agent in New York, and you want to transfer to the Los Angeles branch as a dual transfer, so basically be a bi-coastal member or bi-coastal client that works in New York and LA, you have to be in LA for at least a month before they even consider looking at you. Now, Giovanni's just like I am, so both of us were like, we could do it in a week. So we kind of found out that they were having an open call to register for new clients, audition for new clients. And we went to the call with our resumes that had the Clear Talent Group header on the top. So they already knew that they represented us in New York. Next thing you know, we do the audition. They love us. And we got signed that same day. So we were signed by day 2 in Los Angeles when they told us it took at least 30 days to be signed.
Oh, wow.
So then after that, I met Hollywood. I don't know, are you guys, if you're familiar with Hollywood, the choreographer?
Yes.
He's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine knows him very well, and my friend told him that I was in town and that I'm a girl that dances in heels. And he was like, great, let me use her. And that's when we worked on the T-shirt video. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. The YouTube video with me dancing, and I pull the string and the water comes down.
Okay.
It's like a flash dance moment. We did a Destiny's Child T-shirt. So when you get a chance, we'll check it out on Hollywood's page, Hollywood-T-shirt, Kiira Harper. And literally that day, that was the last day before I was getting on the plane. We recorded it. That last evening, Hollywood dropped the video, and I didn't even know it was out yet. And I was at a bar. I walk into the bar, and I see some of the people that I know from New York who dance for B. But it didn't click in my head. I was very naive at the time. That was around the time of Super Bowl 50. And if you remember Super Bowl 50, nobody knew Beyonce was coming out. It was a surprise performance at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, my gosh, what are you guys doing here? I'm like, oh, we're just chilling because, you can't really say what's going on. And I said, okay, well, great. And I walk away, and I head to the airport, pack my stuff at the last minute, get to the airport, get on the plane, sit down in my seat, buckle my seatbelt, and my phone rings. And I'm like, hello? And they're like, Kiira, where are you? I'm like, on the plane. I told you I was going home tonight. And they're like, get off. I'm like, what? What do you mean?
Oh.
Apparently they saw my video, and they wanted me to come to rehearsal the next day for Super Bowl 50. And that's how I ended up booking the job. It was just off video and word of mouth of who I was and me being in the right place at the right time. And I literally got off the plane. The plane story is a story in its own. I was freaking out. They had just shut the door. And they're like, you need to get off. Giovanni's like, get off the plane. So I raised my hand, and I'm like, excuse me, what do I have to say to you to get me out of here? She's like, well, what's wrong?
To get me off now.
Like, what's wrong? I said, well, I'm just going to tell you the truth. I think I just booked Beyonce. And she's like, the stewardess is screaming. It's like, oh, my God, we got to get you out of here. Open the doors. The whole plane is screaming and, like, clapping. And she's like, it's like a movie. Like,
that is insane.
Yeah, and then, I get into rehearsal the next morning. After Super Bowl happened, I stayed back to audition for the Formation tour. I ended up not getting on the tour. And then I was like, well, shoot, if I can book Beyonce in a week after dancing in New York for 2 years and not getting much of anywhere, semi-successful, but not as consistent and not on the big scale that Beyonce was. So what could happen if I stayed? So I asked a friend if I could crash on his couch. I stayed for maybe a month. And maybe a few things happened, and then I ended up working in New York a few more times. I booked a national commercial with Macy's. That gave me a big lump sum of money, and the minute I got my first check, I bought my flight out the next day. I had no idea where I was going to stay. I just called a friend. This was June 2016. Hey, girl, can I come stay with you? Yeah, come on, come figure it out. It's time, you need to be here. And I was homeless for 3 months, and now I'm not. It just kind of happened. Like, I prefer to tell people to have some sort of a plan. For me, my plan was, I believe in God and God's got me. That's how I run most of my life. But
right.
I do think that to avoid some of the low lows, if you have a plan, you can kind of save yourself from most of the pain and the heartache of being an entrepreneur on your own, I'm sorry, that was such a long-winded answer, but that's the truth.
No, that covers a lot, because within that answer, to me, that says that the stars kind of align. And then it also tells me 2 other things, that you have to have faith also and realize that if you are a believer, then God's got you. Like you said, it's going to happen the way that it should happen. But then also there's power in social media.
Absolutely.
It seems, because for the video to be released and everyone sees it, and it's kind of like, who's this person? Like, who's this girl? She's amazing. it's incredible. And it just shows that if you have the talent and you just have a little bit of ingenuity and networking within your spirit, you can really make some things happen for you and start creating your own path.
Absolutely.
And so one of the questions I was going to ask is, what was one of the most challenging, or what has been a challenging moment being in the entertainment industry? Because I'm always so intrigued by the stories of people who are actually in the industry. So what was like a challenging moment that you really experienced being in the entertainment industry and on this dance journey?
Well, there's so many moments. I mean, a moment happens every 3 months. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's hard. It's very hard because you're in an industry that has so many people. So say there's 500,000 people all trying to be dancers, and there's only 100,000 jobs. That's just how it is. You know, and that's not even accurate numbers, but just to give you kind of like a perspective. Let's say this, there's 100,000 dancers in the industry in LA alone, and there's 250 jobs. It's kind of like that. So it's like a dog-eat-dog world, and most of the jobs are stapled shut because of relationships that people have built over time with the people who are actually booking the dancers. So it's more so about what I had to realize was you cannot in this industry be the type of person who waits for something to come to you. You have to learn how to create your own, because as a dancer, there's no sense of security in this job. You have to create your own sense of security. If you don't do that, you're sitting and you're waiting for a job to come or for an audition to come that doesn't even promise a check. And then say you book the job, sometimes you may not get a check for 15 days, 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 90 days. So you could do your work for 2 weeks straight and not see any money for another 3 months. So you always have to have a backup plan. You always got to be ready to go. One of my hardest moments was when I was homeless. When I first moved to LA, it was like, I've never wanted for anything in my life. My parents made sure of that. And I was in LA on my own. And I didn't want to call them and say, hey, I need help. You know, I needed to prove to myself and to them that I could do this and that this was the path I was supposed to be on. And now that it's starting to come around full circle, I've created my own lane and kept pushing. I'm always a big fan of saying, pay attention to what's in front of you, but always have a vision of the bigger picture. You always have to be aware of what you're working towards so that what you see in front of you is not the only thing you see. It eliminates for the letdowns when things go wrong. Because, you know, as a dancer, we may go to 4 or 5 auditions a week. You may hear 4 or 5 no's a week. It's just every now and then you get a yes. So you have to be strong.
Right. Those are so many, as Oprah would say, tweetable moments in everything that you're saying. You know, pay attention to what's in front of you, but you always keep in mind what the bigger picture is. That I love that. And be the master of your fate. Don't just sit and wait for the opportunities. Go on the auditions, but also create your own just create your lane. And then the more jobs will come to you, because that's something else. Have you noticed as you've started to create your lane that more doors are opening up for you to be on jobs, and more artists are seeing you and they say, no, I want to work with her because I've seen what she's done on her own?
Well, to be honest, like, me working in my own faith is helping me discover more about myself. I'm getting introduced into things in the industry that I never in a million years thought that I would ever do. And then when I think about my life in retrospect, when I was growing up as a kid, 7, 8 years old, I used to bring a boom box. I used to plug it to the inside of the house with an extension cord and bring it down to the street in a chair. My grandpa used to sit on the stoop, and I used to play music and make up dances. And I never really thought that that was me. You know what I mean? Like, it was just something I did, but I never knew that it was in me to create. But it always has been. I've always loved to teach. I've always loved to help people. And now that I'm here living fully in my purpose, I'm realizing, like, this has been in me all along. I just never paid attention. I mean, I'm getting introduced into, I guess, what my purpose is in this world. And granted, yes, I'm meeting a lot of people, too. I've done some work behind the scenes, a lot of behind the scenes work. I've worked with Camila Cabello before for some of her performances for Havana and for a few other songs. I've worked with a few other artists that I can't say names because of paperwork. But like things that
Mm-hmm.
I never knew that I would be able to do. Like as a dancer, you just think, oh, let me background dance and let me get hired to do this. You don't ever think of actually creating a relationship with these people and them trusting you and saying, I want to move like you. Can you teach me how to be like you? And, you know, I trust you with my life and my career. I never in my life thought that that would happen. So I think when you live in your purpose, the idea of what you think your purpose is becomes amplified. And then you learn that there's more to you than you ever thought.
Right.
And God, or for me, it's God. For anyone else, it could be a higher power, whatever you want to call it, the universe. I really, truly believe that when you are living in your purpose and purposefully aligned with the plan that you have and with your faith, God's idea of what is meant for you to happen will happen to you, and it will be way beyond what you ever imagined you were put on this earth for. So
Yes.
I don't have like any specifics. It's just that's my life. Every day I'm surprised. So like every day is something different. I'm like, whoa.
Right. Every day you're like, wow, this is beyond my wildest dreams.
Hmm.
And, you know, what is for you won't miss you. It won't pass you
Exactly.
up. What's for you is for you. So one question I had was, what would be a dream job or a dream artist to work with? Do you have anyone in particular that you would love to work with and would be quote unquote a dream job for you?
Honestly, the idea of a dream job would be traveling the world.
Yes.
That's really what it is. Anyone that wants to give me a tour, a worldwide tour, I will jump on it. That's how I feel.
Nice.
I don't even care who it is, just because I know all artists are the same. You know, every artist is a human being, and they
Mm-hmm.
all want to be the best product of themselves. And I think that I was put on this earth to help people see the best in themselves and help people get the best of themselves, whether that be by me dancing or by me teaching. I know that that's what I'm here for. So for me, my dream job would be to be on a tour. I really want to tour. I have not been given the opportunity to do so yet. I know my time is coming. It's about the
Yes.
faith, but you know, I know my time right now is super heavy in the Simply Stilletto and creating myself, because in the creation of my brand and who I am and helping other people find who they are, I'm diving more into me and learning things about myself that I never knew were there. So
Amazing. Now that's a perfect segue into the Simply Stiletto tour. And I believe you're in Chicago right now. So what are I'd like to get more information about the tour and just where are some cities that you're stopping at next?
Chicago's the last stop for the summer 2018 tour. And I'm in the process of working out what we're going to do for the fall 2018. And then our next time again probably won't be until summer 2019, one more time. So,
Okay.
yeah, we're in Chicago now. Our workshop is tomorrow at the American Rhythm Center. And it's from 12 to 5 p.m. It's a 4-hour workshop. So when I do come to a city near you, at least you'll know it's a 4-hour workshop that's really based on the dancing and the human aspect of being who you are in your professional lifestyle. A lot of times I believe that dancers try to live a dual life. I'm a human outside of the dance room, and then I'm a performer when I'm in the dance room. And it's like, no, who you are as a human is who you are as a performer. And a lot of times dancers are disconnected in their performance because they try to keep two separate lifestyles. So it's about facing your demons, facing your insecurities, and literally saying, you are part of me. I am part of you. I accept you for who you are, and I love you for what you are. You know, you say it to yourself. And then you put that into your dancing. It's a lot of tears because a lot of people have a lot of demons and things that they kind of put in their back pocket and don't want to face. For me, I'm trying to teach people that the things you go through are meant for you and they belong to you. And they're not things you go through and leave behind, but things you go through and carry on forward to help you step higher into what you're supposed to be on this earth for. And then we dance a lot too. You know, you still get the training. There's an hour of foundation and fundamentals. So you learn all the ins and outs, the lines, the shapes of being in a heel. Then we have a meditation period for 30 minutes where we kind of approach all of your issues individually. And then we meditate on them and teach you how to turn them from your demons into your friends. And then we do a learning choreography section where I'll teach a full piece of choreo. And then we have a camera and performance section where I'll have a cameraman come and everyone goes in groups of 5 or groups of 3, and you get your own individual critiques from me and a panel of judges that I bring in that are also people in the industry that have important stories that I think need to be heard. And then the last portion is an hour of, I call it Simply Human. It's my favorite part, where I kind of just open the floor and the dancers talk and they just let out any and everything that they possibly can, you know. When I was in Atlanta, I had somebody actually tell me that she, before this workshop, had actually tried to commit suicide. And this workshop kind of saved her and helped her see exactly who she was and why she belonged. And she would never try to do that ever again, you know? So I think it's a major, major thing. And when we come in the fall, I don't have all of our dates yet, so I can't really say where we're going to be because I don't want to get people excited. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because I was really waiting, you know, once you were done to say, can I please put a bid in for New Orleans? I'm in New Orleans. And like,
okay, so I can say this. I am definitely working on New Orleans for October.
Yes.
For sure.
Oh my gosh, October. I need that to happen because I will be there front and center. Like, I need it.
We are definitely working on New Orleans. I'm working, you're trying to make me tell all the tea. So we're definitely doing New York.
Okay.
And Philly.
Okay.
And then it's looking like New Orleans and Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay. Ooh.
As far as the 5th city, we're not sure yet. It could most likely be Virginia, Hampton, Virginia.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Well, I'm getting some exclusives here, listeners. Anyone who's like, keep your fingers crossed. I mean, it really is incredible. Seriously, I don't know of any other tour that is this comprehensive, that treats the dancer, gives them the foundation, but also helps them to understand themselves and get in tune with themselves. That's amazing. And I think it's so value packed that many, many more dancers and just even aspiring dancers, if you're not, you don't have to be a perfect dancer to come in and, you know, to really gain something from this tour. So I'm thoroughly excited for the fall leg of the tour, and I will be there as soon as you release some dates because I need this in my life. So the last question that I had for you is, what piece of advice would you give an aspiring professional dancer, someone who's hasn't gotten the confidence just yet to step out on faith and is really kind of going back and forth on whether this is something that's possible? What would you tell that young lady or young man?
I'm just a firm believer of, if you want to do something, the only thing you have to do is start. Mm-hmm. If it's in you to say, I want to be a professional dancer, go take a dance class.
Okay.
Every day, make a goal. I'm going to take this many dance classes this week. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm going to take one dance class. And then you start creating relationships. I always believe that sometimes, like, it's cool to have a plan, yes, but sometimes your plan is not God's plan, and your plan can get in the way. So you just kind of got to have faith in what it is that you're doing and just take a step. Sometimes it's not worth taking 10 steps. So I firmly believe that if you're trying to be, or you are an aspiring dancer, professional dancer, just start. Take a dance class. Meet somebody new. Do your research. A lot of people say, I want to do this, but I don't know how. And my next question, follow-up to them is always, well, what have you done to figure out what you need to do?
Right.
And they say, I don't know. And most of the time, they don't do anything. So if you want something, do your research and know exactly what it is that you want. Know what you're getting yourself into. Go learn about the agencies. Learn about the choreographers. Learn about the people you say you dream about dancing for. Who works for them? What do these people do when they're not working for them? Learn the industry that you want to be in. The same way you have to go to college and train and get a degree and what it is you want to be in the corporate world is the same thing you got to do in the dancing world. You have to do your research and learn. So take a step, one step at a time. It doesn't have to be a big one. You're not in any rush, because when the industry is ready for you, it will be ready for you. But take a step. That's my advice.
Perfect advice. Take a step, one step at a time. I love that. I think all of us can use that and apply it to our lives. Thank you so much for your insight. Where can listeners find you on all things social and keep in touch with you and follow your journey?
Well, I mainly operate through Instagram. I keep Facebook for my family so they can have their own little tabs on me. But my Instagram page is KIIRAMHARPER. So at Kiira M Harper. Not Kiram. People like to call me Kiram. Kiira M. M is my middle initial. So
Kiira M Harper. Yeah, like not
yes,
Kiram. Kiira. Well, well, I thank you so much for your time. It really has been an invaluable interview. I know so many people will be inspired by it and will take nuggets of wisdom for it. So thank you again for your time, Kiira.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it, and you take care.
All right. Thanks, Courtney.
Thank you. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. If you have any ideas you'd like me to discuss on the podcast, send me an email to millennialdreamerspodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's millennialdreamerspodcast@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Oh, and hit the subscribe button. Talk soon. Peace.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.